Hello everyone and welcome to Adobe Live. I'm your host, Kieron Lewis, a freelance graphic designer based in London. And today's stream, we have the very talented author and illustrator, Markita Staples. Markita, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Kieron. Thanks for hosting me.
My pleasure. I'm super excited to jump in for today. It's going to be awesome. You feeling good about it?
I'm feeling good. I had the nervous energy, but now I'm ready.
Good. There's nothing, honestly, positive vibes. Adobe Live is all about the energy and real good for it. We got you covered. So I'm sure it's going to be awesome. And a massive welcome, of course, to our audience, wherever you're tuning in from, whether it's YouTube or Behance, a massive warm welcome. I can already see in the chat, we've got Francesco, Paco, of course, Clever, and Wade and everyone in there. So a massive welcome. Put in the stream where you're streaming from, show us some love, some emoji mix. And of course, as we always do, any questions and comments, get them directly into the chat and we will share them directly with Markita while she's creating some magic for you guys. So one quick thing before we get into the real flow of it, don't forget to check out our Adobe Express stream on Tuesdays and Wednesday mornings with Justin N. Guyon, who will be showing you how to create the perfect snapshot show. So stay tuned for that and it'll be an awesome one. But Markita, everyone's here for you today, not me. Let's go into who you are and a bit about yourself. And just tell our audience about who you are.
Okay, well, hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Markita Staples, and I am a children's book author, illustrator, publisher, all the fun things. I think you guys can see okay, perfect. You can see my screen now. So I put together just a quick couple of slides. Let me get into my iPad. Okay. So this is my brand, Curly Crew Books, and that's what I'm going to be illustrating today is a page from that book. I also have a coaching and consulting service. I self-publish that where I talk about how to publish your own books. Wow. So I put together some pictures just to kind of show a little bit about me. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. I live in Atlanta now. Over to the left, to the right is my life in pictures, right? Little girl.
It's cute.
Thank you. I had to put that one at the top. I'm the youngest and I have two older brothers. And like this picture with the snake is just perfectly, it tells you my story, my struggle.
I love that.
Growing up. I also play the flute and I wanted to mention that just because I'll talk kind of about my journey as an artist, but I started off as a musical artist and that's kind of what I did when I was younger. And then I discovered art in this form later. I recently had a birthday. I went to Tahiti. There's a picture of that. And then on the right, you can, thank you. It was months ago. It's kind of late. Okay. And then to the right, you see my family. I have a husband, Keith, and two daughters, Emerald and Autumn, who are the inspiration for my series. And at the bottom, you see my family. We had a big gathering last year. You'll also see that picture pop up later because they are my inspiration for some of what I do. These are my books. I currently have, so I'm showing 6 here. I have 6 different titles, and then I have some different formats, like a different version of some of the similar books. And a book that I have coming up soon is C is for Curly, and that's what we're going to be illustrating today. This is my style in a few pictures. So I started this series based on the interests of my daughter. I saw the types of books that she was interested in, and this is when she was very young, a year old. But, when it comes to little kids, they like high contrast, very simple colors. And so I created my characters of the Curly Crew based on that, bright colors and just very, simplistic images that I think are really fun. So
I get that energy straight away, like that sort of fun for the color. It looks awesome.
I love love some color, and so does my daughter. So
Awesome.
These are a couple of spreads. And then I just wanted to show some of my other work as I've continued to evolve as an artist. I've taken some classes, a figure drawing class, a portrait class, and kind of, I love me some doodles. So that's kind of what you see on the right. And then this page as well is just showing more color. On the bottom left, I have a sketchbook where I'm playing around with some Posca markers and just really learning how to play more with color. So that's me.
That's awesome. I can see already in the chat, we've got some of already loving the vibes and the visuals you're showing us. We've got Bruce, he really loves the name Curly Crew. That is a strong name, to be honest. I do love that myself. How did that come about as a name?
I originally had a different idea for the name, which it was Daycare Darlings, because it was going to be like, all little kids. But then I was like, so hair is a big part of the inspiration, and just like African-American hair, it's curly, and not just our hair. Everybody, curly hair is all around. And it's like, we all kind of, those with curly hair, we are like all about our curly hair. So that's where it came about. Funny thing about the name though, almost everyone pronounces it Curly Q when they first, I don't know if that's a snack or a character, but everyone says Curly Q. It's funny.
Curly, Bruce got it on point when he said Curly Crew, so he's good for it. He's definitely, but I do love the kind of like repetition as well. It's cool. It's a nice short and sweet name. So yeah, we're both rocking the curly look today, and the pink t-shirt as well. We realized that when we first came on, right? So we're good for it.
It's a good day for pink.
Awesome. So again, so for anyone who's just joining, by all means, what are we working on today? So we're gonna have a real flow of your design process today.
Yes, let me head on over to Fresco. So we are going to be working on a spread from my upcoming book, C is for Curly, and it's the ABCs of curly hair. This particular spread is V is for versatility, and it will basically shows a young girl, and she has different hairstyles, right? And that's pretty much, it's been my entire life. One day you've got braids. Last week I had faux locks.
Mix it up. Nice.
Just mix it up. So that's what we'll be doing. I started with a sketch. And my plan was to have the sketch completely done, but you know what, we're going to do some sketching first. So I think that's kind of fun. So we can kind of finish up a couple of these characters, and then we're going to go into inking, and then we'll color. And tomorrow we'll probably have to kind of finalize some of that artwork, and we will also put it into the final book in InDesign tomorrow. So
nice. That's a strong plan, Markita. I like that style. And again, you mentioned about starting off with some doodles. I know, so especially for those who are kind of used to the Adobe Live chat, it's quite cool to sort of see that beginning stage and that sort of transition from the drawing, the scribbles, and then you see the process. So I know for a fact, I'm pretty sure everyone in the chat is down to see that. And again, any questions that you guys are itching to ask Markita, please get those in the chat, and we'll share them straight with Markita. And I can see we've got some good comments already. We've got Sean, he said, if I had hair, those were the days. So we're bringing back some of the
what did he say was the days?
If I had hair. So perhaps I don't know if you're bald, Sean, but it's all, you can embrace, it's all good. If you got curly hair, you got straight, show some love to the hair crew today.
Right. I totally get it. When I had my daughters, my hair texture changed and I lost a lot of it. So I can relate. I
love that.
So right now I'm just finishing. So I decided that she's going to be, and she's doing different things every day. She's jump roping here. She's playing in the rain with an umbrella here. And here, I think she's going to be doing a puzzle. So I found this reference image and it's just a little boy. And so this is what I usually do. I mentioned earlier, I've been drawing for about 2 years now. And before that, I probably had not picked up any type of drawing thing since I was a kid. And so I think what becomes, like, I was watching Noah's live the other day, and they were amazing at just, drawing off the top of their head and got all this experience. But for me, I definitely am still building my mental repository, so to speak. So I love to just pull up a reference image and use that to, kind of figure out the placement where things need to go.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
But that's cool though. So it sounds like it's quite almost like a newfound passion that you're kind of like really embracing. You said 2 years ago, was it, when you started to kind of work on this?
Yeah, well, probably 3 now. I started in 2019 and I, picked up an iPad. And I think that's the really cool thing about what Adobe tools enable people to do. I mean, I can't imagine if I was like, faced with a situation where I need to go out and draw or, buy like an entire paint set and an entire set of and do I ever get around to it? But now it's like, you can kind of just pick up an iPad and start to play around with it. And so that's what I did. And I found myself just like loving awesome. This process.
I mean, that's the beauty. Probably even during the lockdown period where people have always picked up those passion projects or those sort of time where you've got a bit more time to kind of work with, you start to do some drawings or take some photographs. It's nice to really, really explore those kind of inner passion things as well, which is really cool.
Oh my gosh,
Sean in the chat said lockdown project. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's those kind of projects where you might, depending on your work, if you're freelance or you're full time, you have a bit more time on your hands, right? So you can really embrace and do those projects. So if anyone in the chat, again, if you've even done some projects or even done some drawings or scribbles, during that period, get those in the chat. We'd love to hear about it, I'm sure.
Yeah, that would be cool. Definitely share what you guys have been working on. It's always I feel like that's the exciting part too, is when you first start to discover this new passion and energy for something and, just starting fresh. I mean, it can be frustrating, right? Because you're just like, I want to be good.
It's almost like that's it's just crazy because it's like, are you a bit of a perfectionist? Would you say, are you okay?
I am a perfectionist. And it took me a while to actually embrace that. I actually had a manager that pointed that out to me. And I was just like, what? No, I'm not. Because I'm also I can be super chill at the same time. I like to dress down and I like to just keep things casual. But I have found that when I have my sights set on something, I want it done right.
I hear that. I can echo that. I feel like drawing though, I'm always fascinated by illustrators because I feel like that's the one thing where multiple things, but especially illustration where it's so down to the individuals, each to their own, right? And their unique style. You can't really, do you know what I mean? It's it's hand to pen or to tablet. It's your own, which is really cool.
You know what? And I think that's why I like it. It kind of forces me to let it go a little bit. These pieces that I'm doing on this, I'm like, I don't know. Is this how I draw a puzzle piece?
Does that fit together?
Does that even work? It's probably not, but it's like, let it go.
I love that. And where did you get so for your images, where do you tend to, obviously there's loads of different, stock, like Adobe stock. Where do you tend to kind of get your imagery from and then place them in from?
Adobe stock is definitely one of my, I like the images there just because they tend to be pretty high quality and different. You don't get the feeling that people have seen them. Google Images is pretty, it's just a natural thing to start your search on Google. So I think these images, I got them there. And then a lot of the time, of course, if I want especially if I need to license something, I'm going to get it from Adobe stock. So, and also, I really like Pinterest, just for the inspiration. And also, I follow a lot of accounts on Instagram, especially kid accounts. So as I was putting together some of the hair, hairstyles, I looked at a lot of those accounts that I follow on Instagram, baby.
You've got a strong Insta feed. I was checking it out before, even when we had our little, again, for those in the chat quite new, Markita and I had a little catch up yesterday, just to get to know each other, which was great. And then we kind of spoke about a lot of things, and even hair textures and different backgrounds. And your social media platforms is strong, especially with all the different sort of, projects that you worked on, side projects, which are quite, and where you're taking influence from as well, which is quite nice. All the inspiration you've got on there, I think is really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I, the hardest part about social media is being consistent, right? Remembering to actually post.
Yeah.
So I've found that if I like actually enjoy what I'm posting, then I might be a little more consistent, but it really just depends. How about you? How have you been doing with your social channels?
It's like a full time, right? It is people to have that as roles, I guess. I'm quite active on the social, but again, like you, it's more. I will have maybe like an archive of things I can kind of put out, but it requires a lot of effort and time. And sometimes you just want to be doing the work, and then it comes as like an afterthought sometimes social media, but you forget how important it is. But be fair, and this is quite a nice way to even plug it now, like streams like this is quite cool because when you're trying to find, upload work or find inspiration, you can even just watch a stream and just try inspiration that way, which is quite cool.
Oh my gosh, yes. I love to put these streams on in the background and just work. Like sometimes you sort of stop working and you just get tuned into what's happening on the screen. So you're like, okay, I need to be productive and not like watch what this person's doing. But you get so much inspiration, and then people use different tools. So you like just learn about different things that you can, different places to go.
For sure. And again, for those in the chat, where are you guys, tuned in from for today's stream? Are you just woken up? Is it morning where you are? Is it evening? Are you watching it whilst you're doing work in the background? Like, what's your vibe? Let us know in the chat. And I can actually see a lot of people kind of just joined in now, which is awesome. So a massive welcome. Hello to Anika. Hi to Bruce. And we've got Sean, and we've got, I hope I'm saying this correctly, Tarcisio, I hope I said correctly, who said, I'm a big fan of your work. Many greetings from Sicily. So there we go. Welcome.
Well, thank you. And hello to Sicily.
That's what's awesome about Adobe. Like, there's so many people tuning from different parts of the world, right? And because you're in the US, whereabouts in the US are you based?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's so cool. I mean, you and I talked about this a little bit yesterday. The hard thing, and I think, in the US, it's almost a good thing because we don't know what we're missing, but we are so kind of land divided from the rest of the world in a lot of ways that it's very easy to, you don't always talk to people from different places. And so I agree. Whenever I'm on Adobe Live, it's like, and then I like logging into Adobe Live at like late night hours. And, then it's like someone else from a different country is kind of talking about the things that they're working on. So I love that.
And where else could you, like even now, because how far we are, right, in terms of, geographically, it's quite cool we can connect. And again, for everyone in the chat, this is awesome to get even questions that you want to ask Markita, myself, or even others in the chat. It's a nice way to kind of almost like community in itself, really, right? Just to kind of talk and to share ideas from whichever part of the world you're kind of tuned in from. So
absolutely.
Welcome.
And let me tell you guys that are online, don't be afraid to say something. And I'm saying that as the person that I don't ever say anything, so I get it.
That. You set the tone now, Markita. You set the tone early on. That's I can see as well. We've got people tuning in from Canada, from New York, from France. Wow, welcome.
Oh, where in Canada? I want to know where are you from in Canada? So I mentioned I'm from Detroit. So Windsor.
That's a question for you, Anika. I think you said that she's from Canada. She's just got for brunch, so it's brunch time over there for her. But whereabouts in Canada are you tuning in from?
Yeah.
They've all coming to see your magic, Markita, which is awesome.
Aw, thanks, guys. Yeah, what's that? And what I'm doing right now, for anyone that's just tuning in, I am, I thought she was going to be crisscross applesauce, but now I'm seeing he's kind of got a butterfly pose going. So we'll see what that looks like in the end. Sometimes I just sort of leave the sketch a little unfinished and I figure it out when I come back to it. But I'm currently finishing the sketch of one of my spreads of my upcoming book, C is for Curly. And this is a little girl who's got all these different hairstyles and different things she's doing every day.
I think one thing I picked up on when I was checking your work out, Markita, is the kind of concept behind the project and behind the book and the idea of diversity, right? And trying to share and almost educate those out there about, Black culture and about the hair texture, because sometimes, and I get that vibe from your work, it can be a bit misinterpreted about the hair textures. Do you get that kind of vibe sometimes of the work that you do?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was probably my biggest thing when I decided to illustrate this book. So we live in Atlanta now. At the time, we lived in the Bay Area and in California. And my daughter, when she was born, her hair is very unique. She's got kind of a reddish, and then it was blonde at one point and curly. So in general, her hair is unique. And there were a lot of kids that kids are just kids. They're like grabbing her hair and they're just kind of like, oh, wow, what is this? And it was cool to see the kids explore, but then it also made me realize, like, in a lot of cases, the curly hair people are not as recognized or seen, or we don't know all of the different types of hair. So, my first idea for a book, it's just funny to think about this, was I wanted a touch and feel book for hair. Okay. I thought it was such a good idea. I mean, I still think it's a good idea. It's just, I learned later that like it would be very expensive to produce something like that. You'd have to do it in like a really large quantity, like not a self-publisher quantity. And then even like, I don't know, to make it safe for a baby, more thought needs to go into that. I still think it's something I would love to do or would love to see. I would love to see.
There's something in there. You feel like that idea of, because a lot of the work that, and especially when you mentioned about book, is kind of related to stuff that I do editorial and book covers, but there's definitely something in there where it's something that's tactile, something where it feels, physical rather than it just being digital. But yeah, it's those kind of little logistics where you mentioned if it's for young babies and whether it's small parts or it's those elements you have to kind of iron out. But you should definitely pursue that. I think there's something in there. That would be cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. We'll see. I have so many projects.
That could be Adobe Live Part 2 where you bring in the your book cover with the human hair. That'd be cool.
I know. My goodness. People will be like, oh, what is... I could just see babies too. Like, they're definitely going to eat the hair for sure. Yeah. They're going to, so you gotta make it,
my brain was even thinking if it was like edible, but then there'll be no book left, right? If it's just literally just the scraps of a book. But that's as far as my logistic of a book planning goes.
Oh my goodness.
We've got Izzy in the chat. He said a sensorial book. I love that style. That'd be cool.
And that's exactly. I mean, my daughter is a sensory seeker, and that was a big reason why I was like all about the touch and feel book. So yeah, kids love to learn that way, like combine all the senses, if possible. Put some sound in there. You could do all the things.
Mix it up. Yeah. So what we're doing, so I can see now you kind of, the strand of the hair, you're kind of going down. Is that right?
Yeah, so this hair here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is going to be a braid, and you'll see, I pre-inked this because it takes a long time. So yeah, I guess I'm going to leave her body alone for now, and let's just jump into the inking, and I can start with the heads because their heads are pretty much done. So just as this was fun for me to learn. If anyone is ever interested in drawing a braid, when you kind of look at it up close, I'm trying to think, I don't think I have a reference image. But if you look at a lot of books, this is kind of the simple way that, you might do a braid. But then if you look into the details of it, you have like kind of a, this pattern here going on. And at least this is how I kind of learned to do braids.
But that's cool. So, it's nice to sort of see the process of how you kind of break it down.
It took me a while to really I've been studying some braids. Like I've spent way too much time looking at braids. I even in my class that I took, this portrait class, like the teacher was like, "What? Like, okay, just scribble." I'm like, "No, I will not scribble."
You're fixated on the braid.
It needs to be done. So yeah, so this is where I've completely done it, and you can tell. I mean, it takes It takes a good, like, this probably took me a good, I don't know, 45 minutes or so to get through this, but it's therapeutic, you know, you start to get into a zone.
That looks really cool though. Really, like you can see that again, even though it's repetitive, it's that detail, right? Attention to detail where that's really, really cool what you've done there.
Thank you. So I'm going to, let's see, I'll go to her face and I'm using the, so Kyle Webster has an everything brush and I was like, assignment understood. I will use it for everything. I kind of use it for everything. I use it to sketch. I use it when I ink. It's just a very, very like versatile brush.
And just whilst you're doing it, I'm quite curious. So again, if for those in the chat, if you're quite curious about, you know, Markita's design background or influence, but a question I want to ask you, Markita, is, I mean, are you kind of self-taught with Fresco that you're using now? Or was it something that you watched tutorials, or how did you kind of go about, you know, getting almost, you know, inspired or lost in this kind of program that you're working on?
Yeah, good question. So when I first started, and, you know, if anyone sees my Behance profile, you can, I show my journey there. I attempted to just do it on my own. And it was bad. I did not know what I was doing trying to draw. So I actually found a course on Udemy, and which is like, you know, one of the online platforms where you can pretty much take a course on anything. And it was a something like a, you know, beginner illustration course. And that's where I learned just a lot of the basics, just simple things like shapes, right? Like a hand is a circle and then attach some little ovals to it, like things like that. So I did that course, you know, for a couple of months, and then I just decided to go for it. And I gave myself a timeline. So this was my therapeutic maternity leave project.
That's cool.
So, you know, I had some time off work and I was like, look, I can go crazy or watch a lot of Netflix or like take up something while I'm, you know, I'm out. So I told myself, like, I want to start illustrating this book while I'm on leave. I don't necessarily have to finish it, but I just want to start. So that's what I did. And
that's very cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. That's cool as well, like to hear that story of, you know, how it's kind of, I mean, and it's quite fresh as well. Like you said, it's not been 2 to 3 years that you've kind of recently, you know, got into it. It's amazing to kind of see the come up and the journey so far. Yeah, it's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of, I enjoy looking at some of my older things too, and just kind of seeing like, oh wow, I've actually, you know, gotten so much better at this. So
yeah, now you're flossing on Adobe Live, Markita, doing your braid design. It's looking good. I love that. It's fresh, and I can see as well. Everyone in the chat, they're absolutely loving what they're seeing right now. We've got Christine who said, "I'm really enjoying this presentation. I understand about drawing detailed braids. This reminds me of some illustrations that I've done too." So you're inspiring everyone, Markita, with what we're doing.
Oh, yes. Christine, what, tell us, I want to know what kind of hair and stuff you've done. Like, do you do like similar kind of braids, or I want to know about that. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's really like, so one of the reasons, you know, I talked a little bit earlier about how I've started doing like some courses and talking to others. I feel really passionate now about the fact that art is so accessible to so many of us, and we just have never really tried it, because I would have never thought that I could illustrate and do these things myself. And I mean, you know, is it like, I look at, for example, Vashti Harrison is, she's the, you know, illustrator of Hair Love. And so, and like, just probably she's the GOAT when it comes to, you know, children's book illustration, especially that features like little Black kids. I mean, am I on a Vashti level? I would not even attempt to make a claim like that. But, you know, I'm on a Markita level, right? So I do my thing. And I get better at it. And I get so much positive feedback from parents saying that their kids love the books. So super fulfilling.
I mean, that's what makes it even, that's a really good point, because it's this project as well. It's not just yourself. It's that's finding, excitement and enjoyment from it. It's other people, especially young children. And it's inspiring to an extent, a new generation of kind of kids coming up, which is awesome. And you never know that one child who picks this book up and thinks that they want to maybe do their own book, which is really, really cool, I think, to kind of almost plant that seed in terms of like inspiration, and they kind of go off and do their own thing.
Absolutely. I agree. What's really cool for me to see is my daughter is like completely an artist. Like she is, I mean, there are pictures. I put this Curly Crew banner right here because behind me, it's kind of crazy back there. But she's like all about her art. And so I'm like, you're definitely going to have a job.
That's cool. You're going to have to like a collaboration piece, like a collab. Absolutely. Like mother and daughter special edition, like
absolutely
with a touch and feel cover, right? I don't know. That could, there we go. I've sold it. You can run with that idea.
That may be when it happens. Yeah, I want to come back to that.
So again, that was a lovely question and a lovely comment, Christine. So yeah, please get those questions and comments, that you're dying to ask Markita, and I will definitely share them across.
Yes, please do.
I can see Wade as well, our lovely moderators, put in some links as well to some brushes. So again, definitely get exploring and having fun with it. And I definitely know that with a lot of Adobe Live that we do, there's always, downloadable links or things you could follow on and kind of do your own. So to definitely get watching, even after, myself and Markita have shut up shop, definitely keep on watching some more Adobe Lives and basically just have fun and explore and basically have fun within your line of work.
Yes, I'm kind of new to brushes. That's one reason why it's been helpful to take some classes for me and experience different drawing mediums in the physical form. Because, for example, I was looking at like charcoal brushes, and like there's a vine charcoal and there's a compressed charcoal and all these other different types of charcoal. And so I took this figure drawing class and I used charcoal, and now I'm like, oh, I see that one is softer and it's a little darker. And so that has kind of helped demystify brushes for me a little bit.
I mean, there's a lot of option, right? It's a kind of, you almost feel like almost Willy Wonka or Chocolate Factory moment, where it's just like, which one do I really start with first?
And I think that's why I tend to go to this Kyle Webster everything brush, because I'm just like, I will get caught in the decision fatigue, and like I'll keep redoing stuff with different brushes. And so I keep it simple, but I do use the other brushes for some different things.
I love that. And we've got a question for you, Carmen, actually. And it actually kind of leads on to a few more things I want to touch about in terms of, helping young people. But Carmen's question is, if you are just starting out, what's the number one thing that you would suggest? Like, for example, programs or classes, things like that.
Yeah. So let's see. I think the path that I did was a one that I would recommend. Find a class, like anything that's accessible to you. Like, it's great to do things in person if you have that available. And if not, like, I mentioned, I think Udemy and Skillshare, and also Adobe Live. So like, let's say right now you're watching this happen and you have an iPad, maybe you are drawing along. Also, I like that Adobe has these challenges. I've done a few of them myself, where they'll say like, at the end of this challenge, you'll have like a sticker or something like that. And they give you the starter files. So that's really cool too. But yeah, just, and another thing that I definitely have to mention, because I found it like helpful, is, having a good idea of like your vision, where you want to go. I had, I mentioned Vashti Harrison. She's always been like a big huge source of inspiration for me. And so we have like her pictures kind of all over the place. And some of the books that my daughter at the time, I didn't have my other daughter, but some of the books that she really likes, I would kind of use those to guide me, and I would try to redraw some of the things that, some of those illustrations. So yeah, I said a lot, but definitely like, I think a course, and then honestly, even on YouTube, you'll find a lot there. But once you get started, I mean, seriously, I mean it. Like, I used to believe that everyone, like, period, like, you can draw, like, we all can illustrate children's books. Everyone can do it. I still kind of think that, but I have become aware that there are some people that are just like, that ain't me. This is my lane right here. But still, you figure out your limits.
It's funny. I always think to myself, like, we all kind of start off maybe, and not necessarily all, but I would maybe generally as a baby or a child, you maybe pencils or paper or paint, and you just, everything is having fun and being creative. And there's no such thing as a mistake because you're having fun with it, right? And then you kind of then branch off into different strands of, adult life. And some people tend to stay in that creative space and some people don't, but they dabble in as well. Because maybe it's a bit biased, us being on a creative platform discussing this, but I feel like within our line of work, we have fun with it, right? There's other professions too, but we should have fun. And we do have fun with it, which is awesome.
Yeah. Once it's not fun anymore, it's like, you just got to switch up to something else that makes it more fun. But yeah, I totally agree. It's like,
we have options, definitely.
Go back to the inner kid and just play.
Definitely. We've got we've got a few questions. We've got one comment actually. Richard said that he can't draw, but I'm sure you can, Richard. I definitely do one of our challenges, and then we'll see. Have fun with it again. But we've got a question two questions actually. One's from AK, who said, what do you think about colouring books? And I think they asked this question because they're planning to do their own colouring book and to sell. Is it in Amazon or on Amazon? I'm not too sure. They said in Amazon. I don't know whether it's in the location or what. But either way, they're looking to maybe create their own. Have you got any maybe tips for AK who's looking to start their own?
Absolutely. Love me some coloring books. I think especially getting started, because it's a good, well, first of all, you remove one step where if you're just getting started, you don't necessarily have to worry about colors. And trust me, I spent a lot of time figuring out colors. So I do think they're a great idea. I have a coloring book myself, and I plan to do more. Also, my daughters just love coloring books. The good thing about them for a kid is they need lots of them. Like they constantly need, things to color, and like you keep the pictures that you like, and then, you might throw it away, right? Like unlike a children's book, you'll have multiple books, but it's almost like a disposable item, with the coloring book. So I feel like the world will always need more coloring books.
For sure. Do you know what I'm going to sound like the worst person by saying this, but I got a birthday present from, and I can't remember who it was, and it's a terrible thing to say because it was an awesome present. That's the worst thing. But it was an adult. It was a coloring book, but for adults, and it was like super intricate. It was all to do with nature, and I hope that person's not watching the stream now because I'm so sorry. But it was, and I still yet to really get in it. But I remember thinking, one day I'm going to really set time and just have fun and just draw. But a question I wanted to ask you, Markita, like with drawing coloring books, or even when you're younger, were you the kind of person that would draw in the lines, or would you kind of go off piece and just? Were you an off piece person when you regimented?
I was in the lines, I must say.
Okay.
I feel like it's popular now to be outside of the lines, but I was
before it was cool.
Had my process where I did the you do the darker color outline on the outside, and then you color in.
Mickey, well, it's a scary how much we've got the same pink shirt. We've got the similar. I'm the same. I would be. I'm not even trying to be cool and be like, I'll do the outside because I know I wouldn't. I would be much inside. And if I went over a tad, when it's just like you would still continue, but you got that sense of, it hurts that you went there. It's like, and it wasn't much hard work.
I'm like, we need crayon erasers. This is not okay. I am not okay with this.
I love that.
Yeah. My daughter, her thing is brown and black. Like she does not want, like she goes crazy. I might as well throw every black and brown crayon away because she only wants color. Like she'll create her own brown with a bunch of color, but it's just this idea of brown, and she, she'll do color all outside the lines,
Really?
but her it's black and brown. I'm like, but I make books for black and brown kids.
That's where the line is, yeah. I love that. And we've got so again, this is great. You guys definitely throw in your question. And then, in fact, even better, if you're a in the line person or outside the line person, let's be good to know what kind of vibes you are. We've got a question for you, Markita, and actually one for me and you, from Izzy, who's also an Adobe Live host. So welcome. And she said, "What is your favorite project to date, Markita?" And then the same is back to me, but you go first.
Oh, my favorite project to date. There's so many. I guess I have to say it's one that is in progress right now. And it is an African American English version of one of my books. And so it's basically, there's this African American English or African American vernacular that a lot of African Americans speak. And it's not a different language, but it's a kind of a dialect of English. And so I am taking one of my books and translating it to AAE. And it's my favorite because it's a near and dear to me cultural thing where it speaks to the heart, but then it's also something that a lot of people are really interested in. So I'm not done with it. I plan to have the book released. It'll be sometime this summer, but that's my favorite so far.
That sounds awesome. That sounds really, really cool.
Thank you. What's
you
yours?
Have to keep us updated.
I will.
I feel like, because again, yesterday when we had our little, catch up before, it's one thing I realized both of especially in our line of work, it touches on race and design and the community. And my favorite project is similar, and it's a hardback publication touching on like racism in the UK. But it's all about it touches on multiple facets, but a lot of the content is basically understanding a true reflection on what it means to be a Black creative or individual within the UK off the back of what was happening in the US. But it's interesting because I feel like a lot of my work and your work, Markita, it does have some similarity. Even though obviously yours is for children and mine is perhaps for older audience, there's still that connecting strand of it touching on community and on race and design. And it's for me, those are the projects that where you just relate to it on a personal note. It's because again the content is very, very hard hitting and very, very deep for sure, but it's still getting the message across. And regardless Absolutely. Of the color of your skin, you're still able to hopefully be inspired by it. That was a very much long-winded answer. I wasn't expecting to give that one, but yeah.
But we're talking about the things we love. Like you
Exactly.
can't do it any other way. Is this a book that you wrote, Kieron? Or what?
No, I'm not going to take credit for that. So it was in collaboration with HarperCollins, publisher who I work with quite regularly. So content supplied and myself was to design inside and out. But yeah, I feel like I'm plugging way too much for myself, and it's more about you. It's all about you, Markita, today.
No, I need to hear both of us, and I need to check out this book. But okay, yes.
But it's good because again, you're touching on I was gonna say you're touching on some stuff with InDesign tomorrow, so we'll definitely touch on some editorial, and that's definitely my world. So that's awesome. And thank you, Izzy, for a really good question. That was awesome. Please keep those questions coming in thick and fast.
Yes. So yeah, I'm drawing in her. Okay, these were going to be twists, but and so the difference between a twist and a braid, for those that are like, well, what is a twist? Especially, do you know the difference between a twist and a braid, Kieron?
Oh, you put me on the spot now. You should know. It's just like I know what it is, but I want you to tell me what it is, just so I make sure.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm gonna be that guy, right? Yeah.
But yeah, twist is basically, I drew that braid earlier. It looks more like that, and then a twist is, just like if you twist two strands around each other, it's gonna look more like that. So twists are usually style. What's that?
That Rapunzel kind of style. Then I'm getting that kind of. Is it?
I feel like Rapunzel had a braid. I want to say Rapunzel had a braid, but I know what you're saying. It was a looser type of braid, so it kind of looked like a twist. But yeah, and it's a similar idea when I'm drawing a twist, where you saw what I did. I'm gonna go through it with that level of detail, but you know what? I'm not gonna do that. So I'm going to keep these as dreadlocks.
Nice.
So she's going to have locks, which are really dope. So
she's happy. You can see in her expression. What you're doing to her right now is she's in a good place. She's
in a good place.
She's great.
She is, yeah.
And it's probably that time time is actually crazy flying by. And again, if you just joined us, firstly, a massive welcome. And today you're watching part one of Markita's Adobe live stream, who is an author and illustrator and part of the Curly Crew books. So right now we're using Fresco and we're just doing some overall scans and draws of some design characters. So a massive welcome if you just joined us. And any questions you would like to give to her, please get in the chat and I'll share that directly with her.
You're right, time is flying by.
It's good. The vibe is going. I remember at the beginning of this when you said that you were quite nervous. Hopefully you kind of eased in. I get the vibe you've eased in now, which is that makes me happy knowing that. That's good.
So let me tell you, my biggest fear with this was that I would literally get on here and forget how to draw. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how that would happen, but just some part of my brain.
Your mind goes blank.
Yeah.
No, you're handling it well, and I can see already in the chat we've got a lot of interaction, and I'm actually pacing it out nicely so that you can actually do your drawing whilst we strategically put them in there. But trust me, they're definitely coming in there in the comments. They're loving it. So yeah, awesome job.
Thank you guys. I'm hoping, so my goal is to at least get done with all of this inking here. It's funny because when we were talking about, prepping for this, and it's like, make sure you have enough to do. I'm like, that's never my problem. My problem is that I take on way too much. I'll be like, okay. And in fact, funny thing about this drawing is they did not have bodies. These were just heads of little girls.
Okay.
And I was just like, no, I need to add more. I need them to have bodies, but I think it makes it so, yeah, right? Like,
yeah.
So.
But you can have just like floating heads with like really cool hair. Just
yeah, it was gonna be cool like that too. But yeah, I was just like, I need full bodies. So I think, like you said, she's happy. She's happy she has a body.
That's looking good. And we've got I love this. So again, another question from, well, it's more of a comment, which is a very, very important comment. And sometimes it always gets slipped under the radar when we do Adobe Lives. And this is perhaps Izzy's inner Adobe Live host coming out, which thank you for that for sure. She said, don't forget to save. We always have to, it's something we always, and I know I'm guilty of it as well, when you're having too much fun, because we hate to lose any of your work for tomorrow, which you might have a pre-save already, who knows?
Yeah. Plug for Adobe Creative Cloud, it just does it, right? Boom. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, this thing is saved. It is happening magically in the background for me. And that, I was using a different drawing app when I first started. And this was the reason I switched to Fresco, because the autosave, I would get so nervous that I was going to lose my iPad and all my work would be gone. And like, I would try to, put it in Google Drive occasionally and do all that stuff, but I would forget. So I was like, oh my gosh, give me an autosave. I like...
The Adobe gods, they heard your praise. Prayers.
Oh, yes.
They delivered. And actually, that's probably a nice time to actually plug, because for all means, I mean, there's so many updates on the Adobe different programs. So, if you're very much new to the Adobe space, obviously there's perhaps quite a lot to kind of take in, but the beauty of even these kind of streams is that you're able to kind of find that one thing or even multiple things that you're interested in, get the programs, explore with the different tools, and definitely check out the updates, because there's a lot of things I've even found with the new updates now within my own line of work that just makes it so much more streamlined and just made much easier so that you can actually focus on actually doing the work. So things like the autosave is just one element where you're able to really focus on the job at hand. And again, tools that are done there to make it even easier for you. So yeah, that's a nice plug, but definitely get exploring because it's well worth the explore.
Yes. Yeah, like the last update, one thing that they added, I don't know if I'll get to use them because my line work is it's not as neat, but you use the fill tool to like fill things in quickly. And there's this thing called reference layers. You'll see when I get to it. It'll be like,
you're keeping us in suspense, Markita. I love that. It's
yes.
You gotta stay tuned for even longer because that's gonna come up. Do you ever find like, I feel like it's been there for probably forever, but there's that function where you hover over a tool and it almost has that mini video, mini clip, and it shows you what you can. I found that so useful because I know there's certain programs like my bread and butter, like InDesign, but there's certain Photoshop. For me, I'm always learning more. But those kind of things are quite cool. There's little features where you're able to hover and you get a feel right for what it can do.
Same in Photoshop. Oh my God, it is like a lifesaver because I always need to like, in some cases I'll just like keep hovering around like, please tell me what this like. I know there's a tool that does something that I wanted to do. Another thing that I like that helps me out because I'm not complete beginner, but with Photoshop I am still learning is how you search for something and then it just takes you straight to the menu like where it is. Oh my God, I just use that. Like I don't even, in some cases I just don't even try to figure out where things are. I'm just going to search for it.
It's like boom. It already knows. It knows before you even know. That's the that's the magic at Adobe. So welcome if you're very much new. We've got a question from Izzy who said, "How would you best describe your style, Markita?" Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question that I had to think through as I was, putting this together. I was like, "What is my style?" So I don't know the words. I bet there are technical terms for it. But, very childlike, right? Very simple and what would I call it? Almost, I don't know. I'm so bad with adjectives. But, the opposite side of my style would be, I hate to, this sounds like I'm putting it down, but like, it's the opposite of depth, having depth. It's very much, what you see is what you get. And
that's cool.
I'm going to draw like the lines. Minimalist actually comes to mind because I'm going to draw the things that are most important for, making a picture, or at least most important to me, or making a picture come to life. So
I get that. It's and it's, to be fair, I know that feeling when someone asks that question, it's like, what words can I use that is relevant to what it is, but also sound not rubbish? But actually, I think you hit the nail on the head because it's simplicity in its purest form, right? It's what you enjoy doing and you can do quickly, and I guess you're able then to create more as a result of. I mean, this is kind of like a streamlined process to how you work, and even now when you're doing the body, just there where you see, it's almost like the skeleton, and you got the outline of the outside body. That's kind of like a nice way of doing it.
Oh yeah, that's something to that question earlier of like, getting started. What would you do? Stick figures are everything. I learned that from an artist friend. Like, just start with stick figures because we can all do those, right? We can all sort of place the body in the way that we want it to go, and then figure out how it should look. So it's one of my favorite ways to start like anything now is like start with some stick figures and then fill it in.
Add the meat on the bone. I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got so I remember again touching on what we spoke about yesterday, but you asked, I remember you saying about the idea of speaking, answering questions whilst designing, which you're doing amazing. And Howard said from his perspective, I have a hard time drawing whilst talking, but it's great to see you can do it really well. So we've got the crowd already loving that balance that you've got, Markita.
Thanks, Howard. Awesome. Yeah, there are some things that I can do. Some things like are really hard. Like if I had to draw, that's why I had to do some parts of the sketching beforehand because I was just like, the faces, like for example, I want this to look like the same girl, and I really have a hard. It's hard to make your character look the same from different angles. I'm still working on that, but I was just like, I'm not struggling through that while live. Like I would not be able to talk. I'd be like, hold on, I'll be back.
That's cool. You can tell me that. It's just like Kieron put a pause on it whilst I because do you know what happens? And it happens. I mean, even when I had my very first Adobe Live, but it's not everyone, most people have that kind of designer face when you're really in the zone. And it's almost like having that, but then live, it projects it right to the world. So you are balancing it super well. So even if you get your designer face on, it merges really well. So it's
oh, thank you. That reminds me of my aunt. I mentioned I play the flute, and I did this this kind of montage thing of lift every voice and sing, like Black History Month, and I posted it online. And so it's like, you do the quartet. And so I recorded myself 4 different times, and I did not even think about my face. Like, I was just like, I'm just going to do this. And my aunt was like,
nice.
She's like my diva aunt. Like, I love her. And she's just like, yeah, you got to work on like your resting face, especially like with playing my instrument. Like, I get into just completely gone.
You're locked in.
Like, yeah, just
you feel like the passion wouldn't fully come through then if you had to focus on the way your face is, like the passion of what you're trying to get. That's the rationale. It's all good.
Yeah, I think especially with music too, and with a wind instrument, you're like using your face to make music. So yeah.
On that topic, actually, it's quite a nice little lead into another question. With music, I mean, when you're working, how are you vibing when you're working? Are you working with music in the background? What's your kind of energy to kind of get you in the mood for a spirit of the design?
Yeah. Yes, music in the background, either music or a podcast, depends on the mood I'm in. And my favorites are like something like neo soul, like Erykah Badu radio, Dwele, something like that. That's just kind of chill. When I really want to get into a zone though, like Lock It In.
Yeah.
Yanni, like any kind of peaceful piano, like that is just like I will literally, I'm pretty sure I will hold myself up for days with something like that on. It can get a little too intense.
I was waiting for like DMX or so. You're gonna drop me with like when I'm locked in, I'm like, that's cool. That's
Kanye radio though. Kanye radio.
Okay, yeah.
That is usually my like.
It's a vibe, right?
Oh yeah, it's a vibe. It's a vibe.
I love that. Anyone again in the chat, do you listen to music when you work? Are you listening to Adobe Live even now whilst you're working? Like, what's your vibe when you work? There's sometimes even silence. Some people need to have like absolute quiet when they work. That's cool. What's your thing? Let us know in the chat.
What's yours?
What's mine? Do you know what's fun? I've got a lot of Spotify playlists that I create, but I don't know if you're like me, but when I'm listening to songs, if I'm not really digging it for the first few maybe minutes, I skip quickly, and I'm skipping so much that I haven't even done much work. And I found radio is probably better for me because I have no control of what comes next, and maybe that's good because I can then focus on actually doing my work. So yeah, it's a balance. If I'm really locked in for work, then it's probably a radio, I think, just so I can not have control of anything happening next. But if I've got a bit of time and it's kind of like easygoing design work, or maybe design a book cover and I've got a lot of time to do it, I'm Spotify playlisting. I'm Kanye album, Common. I'm feeling Common. I've got a mixture of like jazz as well, or like deep house. I'm into.
That's good too.
That kind of vibe, but yeah, I'm a bit of a music guru.
No, that would for sure will get you there. I wanted to mention this Moodboard because I put it together. I don't usually do this, but I thought it'd be fun to try to do a Moodboard for this book. So where I kind of started with when I first started on this book series for Curly, I was going for a totally different color scheme, but then I don't know. I was like, I kind of want to celebrate Juneteenth through it, and it's going to come after Juneteenth. But so I kind of started with that, and then I found some colors that kind of represent it, but are have a nice. So it's not as like bright, but kind of muted. And then I've got my little girls at the bottom, and a couple of pictures of my family because that just kind of gets me in the spirit of like. All things curly and fun and all that.
It's nice that you can bring in that personal element to your work process and design. I don't see that often really, especially when it's like family, because it means a lot, right? And I think that's quite a nice little touch that you've got there.
It makes it easier for some reason. I mean, not for some reason, but it definitely is like you kind of have a source of inspiration to draw from. And then I use, I don't know if any of my family is on, but this is one of my favorite photos. I'm going to use my little cousin Elle for her skin tone. And I'll often use the eyedropper tool to come up with some colors. So
shout out to Markita's family if she's on the chat.
Y'all better be on here somewhere. I was like, come. No. So let's see. I'm going to go to my other favorite brush is like the most basic, literally the basic brush, but it's nice and opaque, or not opaque. What's the opposite of opaque? No, opaque. When you don't see through something, that's opaque, like, right?
Yeah, when it's solid, you mean?
Solid, yeah. Opaque.
Oh, solid, yeah.
So I like it. Oh, so I mentioned the eyedropper tool, but I don't think I can use it, or not the eyedropper, but the reference layer. So what I can do is, I can't do it because I can set this as a reference, and then it like knows where my lines are, so I can just kind of drop it in. I don't know. It's just, that was a recent update. But I was like, they added that. But it's not working great for me here, so I'm not gonna use it.
Is that because of the lines that are not joined?
Yeah. When I have like very clean lines, it works great. But
that's okay. We get the idea though, which is cool.
Yeah.
So this is an eye picked from was it your cousin you said? Your cousin's skin tone?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It's always like kind of fun for me to start with a person that I know, and then I'll may change it a bit, but I think this one will work. I think I like it. Let me release this reference.
It's nice seeing the reference as well that you where you pick from, because skin tone is probably, and you probably get this as well, but with skin tone, it can be difficult getting an accurate as possible because there's so many references, right? Especially with maybe darker skin tone palettes. Yes. So using an eyedropper for an actual family member as a photograph is, perhaps the closest you can get. Obviously there's updates from Adobe as well where you can get skin tone palettes as well. But that's always a tricky one when
it's very tricky. And honestly, I've learned that it looks different too once you get it printed. So, I've run into that issue where it looks a certain way on screen, and then I get it printed and it's just like totally different. So yeah, skin tones are super tricky. I haven't really figured out the magic to it. I do think I agree with you. Sometimes just getting the palettes can be, just a good way to like take out the guesswork.
And even, what's your point? Like, even when you're doing this now, like, do you ever have that, even going to print or whether it's a digital book, where the shine of a skin, so for example, with our skin obviously being quite darker, mine and yours, like the shine on our skin as well, depending on if they're out like an outdoor character, because I guess with yours is perhaps more solid, so it's not much like shading or definitions, but sometimes you get those, again, it depends on the style of illustration you do, but I imagine for those who do illustrations where it's like that, trying to get that right shine is also probably quite difficult, no?
That sounds really hard. Honestly, it's not something I've dealt with because I don't really even do a lot of like highlights. Is that kind of what you mean? Like the way the light is bouncing off?
Yeah, we had another Adobe Live there's a guest, but it was more photography actually. It's a bit different because it's actual, a photo shot. But again, I know you can get some certain types of illustrations where it's maybe even like, say, for example, the forehead, and you've got the light shining on. There's different kind of, fragments of the light on top of the skin, which is difficult. But yours is a bit obviously more cartoony, so you kind of get away with that style and it works. But
yeah, I could definitely see that with photography. In fact, I have a new printer, and I mean it's not really that new anymore, but it feels like it's still new because I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm gonna take my cousin Felicia's hair, and so I've been trying to print some photos, and I run into that exact problem because I'm looking at it on the screen. It's one thing, and the calibration behind getting the colors right, it is just, it's hard.
You need a good printer who's like on side, where if things go not you like, they flag it, because I think having printers on side is always for a little tip for, especially if you're quite new into our industry, having a printer on side will always help when you, especially if it's a print or publication, because you never know if things slip through the cracks sometimes.
I agree with that. Why is this happening? Oh, I have a eraser. No, I don't like that. I think I'm just going to start with black. And here it can be tricky. I think I'll go with one of my other browns. Okay. Looks kind of green though. Oh.
Is that against the color of the?
Yeah, it's bouncing against. Let's see. Yeah,
it's a bit of a trial and error, isn't it? Where you have to kind of like dip in, dip out, and then just.
Yeah, it is.
That's the process.
It is. Yeah. I'm not liking it. I'm not feeling it.
Not digging it. By the way, you have a very beautiful family. I just saw like everyone looks good, man. Looks sharp. Very beautiful.
Thank you.
Trying to get brownie points if your family's in the chat, by the way.
I know, right? Yeah. I love those guys. They're amazing. Nothing like family. I wish I had more family here in Atlanta. So for the most part, everyone's back in Detroit. We're spread out a little bit, but a lot of the critical mass is in Detroit. But yeah, it's always nice when we can get together.
In terms of, on that topic of sort of location, with the books that you produce, do you tend to maybe have them maybe stocked in your area, or maybe is there some like further sea outside of the US, or where do you kind of get an opportunity to kind of stock some of your books?
Yeah, I actually, I'm glad you asked that, because I just got my first order from a store in Belgium. Wow. And so, yeah, I was awesome. Like, oh, that's so cool. That's cool. So yeah, for the most part, I mean, you know, naturally, US market. I get a lot in Canada, which is also cool. I'm on a marketplace called Fair, and you know, that's where like it's kind of like Etsy but for stores, and that's where a lot of the smaller bookstores will discover me. And then you know, Amazon of course is like available everywhere. So
but Belgium though, that's pretty cool. That's like, and it's so far outside from where you are, which is even nicer, right? It's even more sweet.
I was so excited. I'm like, first of all, I have a reason to visit Belgium, right? Because I have to like go and see the store. I've never been, but it's always been a place I would love to visit. So I'm gonna
I guess as well, logistically, it's difficult because obviously where I'm in London, it's a bit easier for us to travel to Europe. So we kind of have that on our on our doorstep. But yeah, if you get out, you got to get out there. I think. You been to London before?
I have. I've been. I haven't been in a while, but I think the last time I went we were actually going to a wedding in India, and we stopped in London for a few days. I love London. So fun. Nice. Such a really like, just it has a little bit of everything, and it's just.
You're saying the right things to a Londoner, which is to bring you on ahead. London/Jamaica, it's all good.
Oh yeah, and I love Jamaica too. That's another one of my favorites. We actually got married in Jamaica, and speaking of getting married,
waiting for this to be very smooth, Markita. It's on the stage, I promise.
I heard that word on the street is somebody else just got married. You know what
I did. I feel like anyone who's maybe watched Adobe Live previously the past 3 months have seen it come up every time. It's like, yeah, it's happening next month. Yeah, I got married last week. So I've joined the club as like yourself in the marriage crew, which is cool. Yeah, it's a vibe,
it's a cool
right?
Club. It's a cool club. I like it over here. Yeah. No, that is awesome. How did you feel did you guys have a big wedding? I know I'm not supposed to ask you questions, but I just want to
No, it's okay. I'll keep it because I have a tendency of going off piece. So I've got to keep it 100. No, it was good. It was nice. A mixture of different cultures. My wife now. I can't keep saying my fiance. My wife is Spanish. I'm English, but my family are from Jamaica. So let's just say the music and the food was a good vibe because you've got different
Ooh.
cultures coming in. So yeah, it was good. Can't
Oh my
complain.
goodness. Did you have like
So,
jerk chicken and stuff like
do you
that?
know
Like
what?
that
We
Jamaican?
had like a pre-wedding because a lot of guests came a bit earlier over for a few days. We had a bit of that in there, which was nice to get like a
Nice.
real flavor of like some Jamaican wholesome food. But
Yes.
yeah, but Markita, you're gonna keep mentioning. I'm gonna keep going into a tangent now at weddings, and I can easily do this, but I know for a fact everyone's come here to see your design. But yeah, no, it was. Thanks for mentioning that because it was a very, very special day. Yeah,
It's
can't
fun
stop
to talk
smiling.
about. You know, I'm a girl at the end of the day, right? I mean, well, no, let me not say that because we're you know, we're doing away with the stereotypes and all that. But I still have that part of me like, tell me about the wedding and
You asked for a picture yesterday, Rona. I love the first time we met, by the way, just with those so tuning in now, we met. I feel like we've known each other for a bit much longer than only yesterday. But when we first met, Markita was like, it hasn't been an hour. She's like, send me a picture of your wedding photo. And I love that. Like the energy was already there. It was not random strangers. I wouldn't do that, but I feel like I'm comfortable with you. So I will send you a picture of my wedding photo. So, but so again, so I mean, this is crazy. We're already over an hour now into our stream. But for those who have maybe just joined, would you like to maybe give everyone an update what we're working on now if they've just tuned in?
Yeah. So I'm working on illustrations for C is for Curly, which is an upcoming book that I'll be releasing. Oh, I realized I just did this on the same layer. That's okay. That's okay. And so right now I am working on the hair of one of my characters. And what you just heard me like kick myself about was that I did not use separate layers for the hair. So now as I'm creating these little parts, and I'm just erasing away the color, I'm erasing her skin away. Poor girl. That part goes so deep.
That looks cool. That's like a nice kind of like that could work as like a nice kind of pattern though, right? It's got streaks of white and
you know,
highlights.
True.
Yeah.
It actually.
By the way, my hair fashion isn't great, so I'm probably saying the wrong things there. But if it works, it works.
That might be a thing. Like the kids will start like wearing, you know, having this like white part, and we'll be like, "Oh, that is a thing."
We got that from Adobe Live. That's why we're starting to trend fresh from that Markita stream. That's why we're rocking the the white streaks in the hair.
Right, like you saw it here first. Oh, yeah. And so my plan is to get through as much of this coloring phase as I can. And then tomorrow we'll also, finish the rest. So I have 4 characters. For those that didn't see the beginning stages of this, I need the Moodboard still. Yeah, I've got 4 characters, and also I am really bad at naming my layers. So I just have to guess where everything is, which is...
Well, Keith, that's blasphemy to... No, I'm kidding. It's each to their own. If you know how to find your system, then each to their own.
I don't. I don't even know.
I was trying to soften it then. It's just not good.
Oh my God, I hope I didn't like delete this. Oh, is it here? Or is it just the fact that it's kind of... Oh, it's because I have this over it. All right. I'm like, where did it go? Okay. Those are my other characters. I just needed to see them again. I need to make sure they were okay.
Just check in on them.
Still jumping. She's still doing her puzzle. So yeah, they're safe. We're good. All right. So let's see. So I'm going to do her. So does anyone have what colors in my mood board are y'all feeling? Any suggestions on how we should do her outfit? I'll give you guys a second to think about that.
That's a good question. Get those color combos in the chat. You know, what are you feeling for her skirt, for her top? Got a nice color palette on the left there. So pick up some, or even you might want to mix it up and do a little pattern of some sort. Whatever you guys are thinking, let's get that in the chat, and Markita will get designing.
Yeah.
What's your vibe telling you for color wise? What are you?
I'm looking at that green. That green is just. I just love it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I could go. I just like all of these. It's just like giving me energy. It's yellow
and
is
you can
giving
overlap as well. Like you can overlap some of, because my brain's telling me like already the orange is my favorite color anyway. But like the orange, even the orange and the yellow, like just overlapping those two like in the middle, that would still even work nice. You've got a nice sort of contrast of colors that can work singular or even as a nice color palette.
I like where you're going with that, Kieron. I like that idea. I'm gonna definitely bring in this green though, just for now. Bring some.
We got a question whilst you're doing that, Markita. We got a question. Excuse me, actually two questions. So the first one from Keshner is saying, how long, and we touched on it earlier on, but let's definitely say again, how long have you been drawing for, Markita?
Yeah, I have been drawing. So I started in 2019. So it's been about 3 years. So, 3 years off and on, right? Like I go through my periods where I'm like drawing every day and I get so much better. And then I, with my periods where I get too busy and I don't really touch it for a while, but yeah.
Nice. So and then the second question, just from, again, still part of Keshner's questions, what has encouraged you to do children's books, which we kind of touched on before, but definitely for those who just joined the stream, it'd be great to know.
Yeah, so my daughter, I have 2 daughters. They are now what are they? 4, well, they're technically 3 and 4. And the older one, when she was 2, or not even 2, she's like 1, and I was pregnant with the second one, that's when she really started to like gravitate towards books and like we'd be at the store. And I will never forget, we were at Target, which is a big retail store in the US. And there was one book in Target that had a little black kid on it. And it's changed a lot. It's gotten much better since then, but there was only one. And she just immediately went to it and she grabbed it and she's like, I want this book. And I didn't feel like it was just more of a advanced picture book, like a lot of words and more detail. And I'm just like, there's no way you're going to sit through that. And so that was, one of those early instances of me saying to myself, like, I think I want to see what happens if I try to, do my own book.
I love that. It's almost like when there's it's almost needed to be done, right? Because it's almost like it's happening a lot more, and that's amazing. Where, black, brown, all different variations of different people are kind of creating their own things for their own communities. But when you see that there really is especially with younger children, where it's almost needed for them to kind of to grow and to be more educated, you kind of have to kind of pave the way yourself if it's not there already. So that's cool that you saw that there, and then you thought, I need to actually make something as a result of what I've just seen.
Exactly. Really cool. Yeah. I've never thought this was a path that I would go down. My background is in business. I've always been kind of a creative person, but I haven't done anything creative as an adult. So it's been such an interesting journey.
Nice. On that topic of, we mentioned to the chat about what color palettes is everyone digging. We've got Izzy who said, and this could work on maybe the green trousers, but like a banana pattern. So I want to maybe like a banana like shapes or even like fruits could be on the grass on the green skirt.
That sounds cute. Little bananas on the skirt. Wait, did she say bananas or she said banana?
Yeah, banana pattern, please. So maybe like bananas or even the colors or the shapes. But I guess it's the idea of like 2 colors like kind of collaborating with each other, which could work quite cool.
We're doing it. I would never think of that. So we got to do it.
See, if it was me, I would go off piece and start doing like superhero. Like, I know we spoke about just and you rocked up in a Green Lantern shirt and told me you don't like superhero. That threw me off police massively then when you...
I have to tell people right away because so many people love the whole superhero, like it's a superhero culture, and I have nothing against superheroes, but it's never something that's good to come up with me in conversation.
It's all good. It's each to their own. And is it that even cherries as well? Maybe cherries could be quite nice, but yeah.
I can see cherries. Okay, so fruit in general.
Mm.
Once I get the gray in this shirt, I'm doing it. So I can at least do that before we jump off. Because are we like, no. Oh, we go to two. Okay. I was like, we have 10 minutes left.
I know, we're good. So we've got about 20 minutes, I'd say. 20 minutes left.
All right.
Longer, actually, I should say. I'm just trying to pace the time, but we're good for time. And
I know you're on top of it. I'm like, I just lose track of time, and I'll just be like, oh my God.
It's going good.
I'm trying to figure out why I can't do this because this is not. All right, I'll close it.
And for anyone, I mean, again, if you're in the chat, because the beauty, and we spoke about it yesterday when Markita and I spoke. The beauty of Adobe Live is that it ranges from the kind of audience that we have, whether it's students graduating, if you're just starting out, or even if you're a senior creative in your space. I mean, that's the beauty of trying to connect with different people at different skills and levels. So hopefully you're watching Markita design on Fresco, and you're becoming inspired and seeing her process. So any questions you might have relating to her design process, or the colors, or the tools she used, please get those in the chat. I'm sure she'll be happy to answer them.
Absolutely. I forgot to draw the color in this braid.
It's looking good though, man. I like it's looking like a cute character.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm like excited to get to this fruit now.
No messing about, just like boom, I want some fruit on there.
I want the fruit.
I like the kind of, it's that hand-drawn feel as well. Even the black outline of the lines, like it's still kept in solid or like slightly roughed, which I love. That kind of that style.
Yeah, and I didn't, when I first started, it's almost like I didn't have an eye for that, and so I thought that I was supposed to draw everything like digital was the goal, like make it look digital, and then I realized like, no, it's actually better to add a little texture and do more with the brushes. And so that's actually what I'm going to do at some point. I'll kind of erase out the opaqueness of these braids, but for now, I'm just going to keep them like that.
That's interesting. You made me just think of actually, because I guess I don't know if it's one of those ones where illustrators sometimes, depending on the line of work, and being influenced by what they see, online or in magazines or print, where they feel maybe they have to go down a certain route which is more digitalized maybe, or maybe if it's not like where you're doing now, where it's very much hands-on, obviously it's still a brush, but it's still got that sort of etching style. It's not too perfect, but just good enough. I don't know if that's, for me, I love that kind of style because it just keeps that kind of authenticity to it, but you never know. Sometimes people might feel a bit more urging to go on a certain route because maybe that's what's maybe seen as more, I don't know, pleasing to the eye. It's almost like going on a whole route of print versus digital, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that makes me think of a lot of things, and just in general, how I feel like at one point we did gravitate towards more of a like polished, more digital look, because like the digital thing, it made things look cleaner. But then I feel like what has kind of happened in general is like, it's so easy to like copy paste or, just like take a shortcut to do something. And we're starting to recognize that. So when we see that human element, we like value it more, right? And we're not perfect. So it makes sense that our lines and all of the things that we do should not be perfect. They should have a little, variety to them.
For sure. It's like, I mean, that means it's like drawing a circle freehand, but I know might as well end up like a triangle because I just, that's why I'm more of a digital, I'll be honest. I love print, but I'm very much that being said, like scamps, like drawing out really quick, like layout pages. I will always do like a pen to paper first, like very quick drawings. But yeah, I kind of miss doing like what you're doing now. I haven't done that in years. Like have fun with like drawing characters, and I used to love doing it as a kid growing up, like the Simpson characters and things like that. Yes.
So you got a coloring book you need to get to.
Oh yeah, I mean I just got married, so there we go. That's my excuse for being so busy.
Oh, okay.
I'm using that card. I'm gonna use that card.
Milk that as long as you can.
It only worked for like a year, maybe, right? And afterwards, I was like, dude, it's been a long time now. Let it go. We've got a question. So whilst you're doing that as well, from Izzy, who said, "How do you keep yourself motivated in your work when you feel out of it?"
Oh man, what a great question, because that happens all the time. It's sometimes I just allow myself not to be motivated, honestly. Sometimes it's just that kind of week, and it means I need to go do something else because I'm just not feeling it. And so that's one answer. Go in the opposite direction. And then on the flip side, what is so rewarding is like these moments in life, like being on Adobe Live, where you either experience something different or you just kind of have like something where, your work pays off. And so then just kind of riding that wave of like that thing that's like making me happy. So, yeah, I just look for those little moments, and, and then I think that's another thing also that's helpful about social media is, you kind of get the community on there too. So sometimes people will ask me like, hey, what's going on with, whatever, a book that I mentioned in the past, or like what, or it could be anything. So yeah.
No, I love that. I think, you hit the nail on the head with the word, community, because I feel, especially with Adobe Live and other, design streams where it's, we all kind of want to see how people work. I mean, that's kind of like the underlying, because we're all so different, right, in our skills and techniques. So that's the beauty of it. And it doesn't have to be so polished, because I mean, within my line, but I always appreciate more understanding the things that went wrong, so that you're able to then work on something better in the future, in opposed to it being so polished. So that usually revolves around, the process of an actual project rather than maybe the final thing. But it's what makes us human, right? Which I think is nice. So that was a good question, Izzy. And even for yourself, Izzy, or anyone else in the chat, what do you, because it all happens to us, especially within, not just within the creative space, but within work in general, what do you kind of do to kind of keep yourself motivated if you're feeling a little bit low, or your energy level's a bit low? What's your thing? Let us know in the chat, please.
Definitely during the pandemic, I think that had to be everybody's biggest challenge, right? Just like pandemic fatigue, and
for sure.
Staying motivated.
There's so much Netflix you can cram in one day. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, for sure.
We've got a question. Hopefully you don't mind. It's regarding your children as well with your work. So Keshner has asked, you mentioned that you have 2 children. How are you finding time to create and care for the little ones? If they're not in daycare or need additional help, asking for a friend. That friend is me.
Woo, okay.
That's a big one. Answer what you feel comfortable with.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I constantly am like, what am I going to do with these kids? They are absolutely in school. So they go to school, 5 days a week, and that's pretty much when I can get stuff done. And then like what has been really nice, like I mentioned how my daughter is really into art right now. So I feel like I have like almost strengthened a lot of my skills just drawing with her, because we'll just doodle random things. Like I can draw a heart like it's nobody's business at this point, right? So it's always helpful when I can like tie in, my work with whatever they're doing in their world. So, and then, there are just those days. They're like, the summertime transition has been really hard. Like, as they've kind of like gone from having their steady schedule of going to school, and now we're like, what is this? I'm going to camp. It's different. I'm not, and so it affects their moods. And
there's a lot. It's, just off the back of that, I've got a lot of friends who, most of my friends are freelancers, but some of them have, 1 or even 2 children. And it's that in itself, trying to balance, right? It's the life balancing act, because within our line of work, it's we have fun, we enjoy it, of course, but there's also balancing the life elements as well, whether it's if you've got a family or you're by yourself or whatever. It's just life things that come in the balance of it, and it's if there's ever a period of our lives, it's probably during that period of the pandemic, where the lockdown and you really get tested, but which is why it's so important to kind of keep yourself and that creativity afloat, to try and balance things out in the long term.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So these are interesting. This looks kind of like a hot mess right now. I don't know about that.
That's looking good. I like the definition on the banana. No, that's good.
But I'm gonna at least lower the opacity. Because it was like apple or not cherry, banana. Yeah. Boom, boom.
Slipping a pineapple in there somewhere. It's all good. Maybe that can be I don't know.
Yeah, we could think about.
There's only so many fruits you can get on that.
I know, right?
Small scale.
And I think we might have said apple, but cherries were just in my brain. So I was like, you're going cherries. It's cherry season right now. And oh my goodness, it is like my favorite. Are you guys into cherries?
We don't have cherries in London. Of course we do. I want to see how far along get with that. There's cherry season, I guess. Do you know what? It's funny because I'm looking over here, but we've got a fruit bowl over here. But I'm just looking now. We've got predominantly like pears and apples, not bears. Probably bears lurking about somewhere. Pears and apples. We have. Do you know what I like? Grapes. I'm a grape kind of guy. Yeah,
I do love grapes. Grapes are probably number 5 on my fruit list.
I mean, we got to go for the numbers now.
In the top 10. In the top 10, though. Cherries are probably number 1.
Okay.
Love me some watermelon, especially like it's summertime. It's perfect. I love pears. Pears are new for me. I didn't like pears for a long time, and
they're underrated. They
my
are massively,
gosh.
I think. I say underrated. How do we get on that topic of fruit? I don't know. I guess because of the banana. Yeah, so we went off into, well, maybe more myself.
We did.
Yeah, I'm good for it.
I love it. I can't remember her name who took us here with this fruit, but
I think it may have been Izzy as well.
Was it Izzy?
Another Adobe host. So, love those kind of off-piece questions, but it's still related to creativity. So please get them in there. It's all good. If you're feeling as well, even better. Even if you're thinking of any more designs to go on the jumper for the character. If you're feeling any more characters, get this in the chat. It could be a fruit skirt and maybe an animal jumper. Just saying, just to mix things up.
Wait, you said a fruit and animals?
I mean, why not, right? We give like a fruit skirt and then like a polar bear. I don't think polar bear. That's so random.
We do need something on top.
Yeah.
And actually, we need something on her leggings.
Okay.
So there's lots of room to.
We have the possibility of creating layers.
All types of possibilities, and I think she's gonna wear the same thing for all of them, just so that we know that she's the same person.
She has that magical spin where one side is different to the other color. It's like,
right.
That's cool. If that works, it's a character, right? So it can be anything you want it to be.
Could be anything. I will say, for simplicity, I usually don't draw a lot of detail because I, just to keep it simple, and I have all these books because I don't have a lot of detail, but I like that this character is going to have more. So I think this is I feel like I'm growing as an artist during this live. It's like, it's taking me to new heights.
We're seeing you grow as well. We're seeing the process, which, excuse me, myself as a host, and I'm sure those in the chat are loving as well. It's been cool. We've got a question actually from Keshna, who said, "What is the most challenging thing for you to draw?"
Oh wow, that is a really good question. I guess it's when characters are like in different poses than I'm used to. Like, I don't know, you guys saw me struggle through that like puzzle thing that's going on over there. I'm gonna do that one offline. I'm gonna have it kind of done tomorrow. But yeah, that's probably the hardest. I think when you like, and I love a character doing something, that you don't normally expect. So I love to see it. So it's something that I'm working on. And one thing that has was super helpful is I mentioned that figure drawing class that I took. I've taken it like a few different sessions, and one thing that we do in that class is the model, they pose different ways and we get like a minute to draw them. And so that's where the practice is just in like the repetition and, you know, doing it over and over again. But for now, it's pretty challenging.
But that's cool. That's like, because in a way your brain doesn't, it's such a short period of time you have to do it. Your brain doesn't have time to perfect it, which is probably the best thing, right? Because if you're a perfectionist, that's exactly what I was like hell to you, isn't it? But it's cool to you have to like on the spot make it happen, almost impulsive, which is nice.
Exactly. Like for a perfectionist, that is exactly what I need. Like give me, like, tell me I have a minute to do something and oh gosh, that's like
2 hours to draw this hand. Yeah.
For sure.
That was a great question, Keshna. Thank you for that.
Just realizing I don't really like, I don't like, whatever. I'm not gonna perfect over it. I just don't love her hair color, but I can probably fix it pretty easily and just add some like darker highlights, just a little light for me.
And on that topic, whilst you're sort of doing this as well, I remember we spoke yesterday, and it'd be great to maybe share a bit more if you like to. You mentioned about doing courses as well. So obviously you spoke about you gone to classes, but you're obviously looking to create courses to help individuals, right?
Yeah, I am. You know, I've done just kind of a lot of one-on-one, like people that may come to me and just kind of ask for like, hey, how can I get to the next step of doing this book? And what do you think about like someone that may like try to illustrate it themselves? They've kind of asked for my feedback. And so I think a course, like I personally love courses. I am all about like, I just love to learn. And so I've never put together a course before. So I just think it would be kind of a fun challenge for me. And it'd be like a good way for, you know, for me to kind of share with others. So the first course that I believe I'm going to do will be one around children's book illustration for like complete beginners. When I first decided that I wanted to illustrate my books, I was looking, for one thing, I was looking for exactly that course. Like somebody tell me like how I can like illustrate just for the purpose of, you know, of books, because, you know, one thing about illustration, that color is better. I like that color. One thing about illustration is, you know, you can get really deep with it, right? And when it gets to a like the most like aspirational form of illustration is usually like more detail and like things that are just more complex. And I was like, I don't know if that's where I want to go yet. So for people that are just kind of looking for, you know, getting started, maybe you're gonna begin with a type of illustration that is, you know, not as detailed, or even if you want something to be as detailed, but you just kind of want to understand how it works to put a book together, and like things that you have to think about beforehand. Like you want to think about your size, and you want to think about like have a color palette and that kind of stuff. That's what I plan to talk about. So
awesome. I'm excited. And how could people find out about, is that like via your website, or is that,
Yeah, go to my website. So I self-publish that is my website name, and I have a webinar that I'm going to do. That's going to be my like intro into it, and that's free. So that'll be next month. So I've got a month to get it together. Nice. And from there, I have a blog as well on my website. So I kind of talk about some things there. There's just so many pieces to the, you know, the whole children's book industry. And the dope thing about it is like, people are super helpful. And that's been partially what has made me say like, I want to be a part of like contributing helpful information to people. So yeah. Find it.
That's nice. Well, you guys heard it first. I mean, and we've got a link as well from which Wade just put in. You know, definitely after the stream, you know, check out Markita, and of course look out for those courses, because if you're digging what you're feeling now, then there'll be a lot more, I'm sure, to come, and obviously you can get some more tips and advice. So yeah, keep a lookout for that.
Yeah.
Are you liking this color more now with the
it's so much
good.
better. Yeah, it was just it sometimes just takes me a while to see it, and then I have to, and then you know what's gonna happen. I'm warning you guys right now, like tomorrow it's gonna, I mean, I'm not gonna spend like a ton of time on this, but I'm probably going to look at it a little bit and be like, let me change some stuff up. So, you know, because I don't know if you have the same thing, Kieron, where you are working on it for so long and then you come back to it later and it just looks totally different. And you're just right away, you're like, I got to change this, but you couldn't see that earlier.
Even more so if you're doing like a live stream like to like an audience of people, and totally get that. I mean, you're cracking the code. It's looking cool, and I think I can't remember, it was maybe Bruce in the chat, I hope I got it correct, but the balance as well of you answering the questions as well as designing, it's that in itself is an art, and you're perfecting it well. So it's looking really good. So if you need some time to refine it, that's totally natural. And it sounds like you're a perfectionist like myself, so I feel like you kind of have to do, and I'd be the same. I'd be the same.
I'm working on it. You know, I am working on just like, look, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. You don't have to like make everything better. Some things are great.
Do you, I'm quite interested actually to know on that topic of being a perfectionist, and it touches on like saving. Do you duplicate folders as well? Like, do you, like, for me, for example, I'm designing a project, I will save one on a hard drive, save one on a Google Drive, just for peace of mind, knowing they're saved at different places in case. Maybe that's a bit too OCD, but
yeah, I don't because so maybe you go more. So you got
weird now. Thanks, Markita.
No. I bet you're normal, and I'm weird because you mentioned the OCD side. Like you said, do you have like an OCD side? You think?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
I don't feel like I do. I feel like I'm the opposite, where I am. I mean, so one thing, I do have ADHD, like it's a mild form of it. And so I tend to just let things go. I am not a good saver. So like earlier, like the point about saving, like I should save more often, and I should probably be a little more meticulous when it comes to certain things. So yeah, so that's why I never saw myself as a perfectionist, because I'm like, no, I just sort of let everything go. I don't, but when it comes to certain things, I just like, you know, I can definitely.
Each to their own, right? Each to their own. And I think it's, especially with how because we're so, obviously everyone's individuals, and I think it's how you tend to operate best. And I think sometimes with perhaps being a bit biased as a freelancer, but sometimes I feel with freelance, it's a little bit, because you are your own person, you are your own company in a way where things are kind of in your, it's in a certain way that you've actually designed it to be. So for those who are quite, I'm going to use the word control freak, it's not a nice word, but I know I'm a bit of a control freak. Sometimes being a freelancer is the perfect avenue. But that being said as well, there's benefits to being, full-time, working in a collaborative, working in a team. There's a lot of, there's pros and cons, but yeah, I'm trying to learn to be a bit more loosen up and chill, but saving is always I think a number one tip for us all to remember, because it happens to the best of us.
But I mean, that's why like the autosave was made for me. Like it was created for me.
Yes, we've plugged that autosave a few times.
I mean, and it's like, it's obviously a broader thing, but in general, right? It was the reason I moved from, doing things on my desktop to the cloud, like Google, Docs, and like everything that has an autosave. I'm just like, thank you. And at this point now I'm spoiled by it. I'm like, you don't have an autosave. Like I have to hit save. What?
You're expecting that. I love that. It's just like you mean it doesn't come with a save. It's just like it should have been here already. I love that. When you get to that stage, you're expected to have. I mean, if Adobe keeps giving us the gift that keeps on giving, right? With all of the updates, so it's almost like every time you think what they could be doing, it's probably pending and it's going to be happening soon.
I
imagine.
But yeah,
hard at work. Fun with it.
So I think what I might do too is I think we're gonna stick with just 2 characters. I don't think I'm gonna do those other 2 for now.
Yeah, we're in a good place. I mean, I'll say we're probably about, this is very precise to say this, but like 11 minutes, 11 or 12 minutes. So maybe a few minutes on here, and then maybe like a nice little recap of the day as well. And then a bit of what we can maybe expect tomorrow, but not too much, so that people come back for part 2. We have to keep some suspense, right?
Keep them in suspense, yes.
So yeah, like a solid 11 minutes and we're good for it.
Awesome.
By the way, I see the love as well in the chat. We've got Jay just said great stream, so he's had to take off, but hopefully you've enjoyed it. Yeah, it's all good.
Hey, thanks. I hope it has been enjoyable so far. I mean, I personally love watching people create. I mean, it could be drawing, it could be like editing. It's just fun. And that's one thing I love. So lately I'm super into TikTok. I know you said you're not cool enough for TikTok.
I'm not cool enough.
But you know what? TikTok isn't for the cool kids anymore. We're all there.
Okay, there's a place for us. I love that. There's a place for us. Okay.
And it's really heavy on like process stuff. You know, there's so many like behind the scenes, watch me pack an order, watch me do this, watch me, you know, like anything you can think of. Like I feel things that on Instagram, it might be like, oh no, it's not, you know, it's not fully done and polished yet.
Not polished.
Like, yeah. On TikTok, it's like, wait, it's polished? No, I don't want to see that. Like people want to see like the raw, unedited thing. So I've enjoyed, you know, both like seeing that stuff and also contributing to it. So I love, show me how the sausage is made. Like I want to know like all the details.
That's a solid pitch, Markita. I feel like I'm convinced. I don't know the rest of you guys, but I'm convinced to go on to share on TikTok. But definitely check out your own personal TikTok. You get your own personal page, right?
Yeah, I do. Yep. Curly Crew Books on TikTok.
Sure.
Yeah, you're right. I'm going to have to start like getting some sponsorship money from these companies, you know, for like plugging and stuff. But yeah, like my TikTok has like a little bit of everything. I go on random and so I think my husband's really grateful for it because he used to have to listen to me talk a lot more. And now I can just kind of go on TikTok and, you know, have my rants of whatever it is that I have on my brain for the day.
Watch me whip, watch me nay. There we go. I had to put a little joke pun in there. I don't know. Yeah,
wait,
I feel like
watch me whip, watch me nay. What does that have?
Isn't that a thing? Wasn't that?
You mean like
about the hair? Wasn't it about the hair thing? Because my sister used to love watching that. Like my sister had braids and.
Yeah, you're right. When they do the whip. Okay, like that, like a whip. Yeah. Okay, I got you.
You pretend like I don't know about it, but really and truly, I love it.
I get you. I see what you're saying. By the way, I do not dance on TikTok. I started off doing that at one point, and then I was like, oh, I just realized my computer is. 1 second here.
We've got Wade as well. He's put in a nice little link to your TikTok. So we've got a lot of hot links in the chat, website, Instagram, TikTok. So definitely after our stream, of course, check out those links and follow Markita's story. But no dancing, she said. That unfortunately, you're not going to see any dancing on TikTok, but you'll see the
Sorry, guys.
She's just as good. So there we go. I would say Markita. So I mean, time has literally flown. We're at about 6 or 7 minutes. Perhaps we have to do like a nice little recap. I mean, we've got 6-7 minutes if we can do that, but that way we can get a real flow of what we've learned today.
Yeah. Okay. So what we did today, we have this particular spread is going to be from my C is for Curly book, and this one is V is for versatility. And so I started off with some sketches, and what we have now is a pretty finalized girl here. She's about 80% done. You've got one here that's about 40% done. And so, and this spread is really just showing the different, you know, my hair can be versatile, right? We wear our different styles on a daily basis. And so, let me just hide this. So we've got the 4 girls, and what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to finalize some of this artwork, and I may do all 4 girls, or it may just be 2 of them. And then I'm going to take this and put it into InDesign so that you will see how it will look as a book spread once it's done.
That's exciting. Nice. I mean, you kept us on suspense. I mean, I don't want to say too much because then obviously we'll come back for tomorrow's part. But again, I mean, because we're at, we've got about 5 minutes or so. It'd be cool to go back to that, when you had or unless you still want to do maybe some more
No.
coloring, but perhaps a bit about your background as well when you were showing us your PDF at the beginning, just so people can get a real feel again.
Oh, yeah.
Into kind of how we kind of come about now and the real story behind. Because we've got like a nice sort of solid 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is what I shared earlier, and I'm sorry. What's happening right now is I realize my mic is going to change for a second, and I hope it's okay.
I hope so. Are you still here, Markita? I hope. I don't know. You may have frozen. Hopefully while she's coming back. She looks like she's here still, but I can't hear her sound. But as you can probably see on screen, oh no, I was about to do little sensors there. You left me on my own, Markita, for I was lost in the wilderness. Like a small
I'm so
child.
sorry about that.
Nah, it's cool.
I'm dealing with a situation with some cords. So sorry if I disappear again. I'm sorry, guys.
That's cool.
Okay.
We've got 5 minutes. Don't disappear on us. You've got you're good
I know it's like the end, and I'm like,
Don't leave us on a cliffhanger like this, Markita.
Sorry about that. But yeah, so basically I've talked about kind of my background, and I started the Curly Crew series based on my experience with my daughters. I wanted to write a series that featured Black and brown children, and so that's exactly what this series does. Books that I have, and I'm working on book number 7. C is for curly, and it's really going to celebrate. It's the ABCs of hair. So A is for afro, B is for braids, C is for curly.
Nice.
And so we worked on V is for versatility today. And here's where I kind of show my style and some of my work.
Those drawers are cool on the top left. I like those. Are they sort of HB pencils or?
It's charcoal.
The top, sorry, that shows mine need to have my glasses on. No, that's good.
Yeah, the 2 on the side, and then that one in the middle at the top is graphite, which was a really cool project that I did where we, these are kids I think these kids were in Nigeria, and we got their pictures, and then we just kind of got to draw their portraits. So that was a really fun little project.
It's nice to use different mediums as well that you've used in between, the charcoal and then the obviously more refined on the computer. It's cool. Yeah,
it's really nice. And I purposefully kind of did these classes because I wanted to not introduce color yet, because once color comes in, it's its own thing. And I was just I want to work on the the drawing piece of it.
Do you feel like it distracts sometimes when you add, because when you have it in black and white and it's in this bare bone, almost in its truest form, that's the kind of foundation set, and adding the colors almost like the cherry on the cake, which is nice because everyone loves cherries, right? But then also it's almost like you want to make sure that foundation is in a good place.
Exactly. Yeah. And then sometimes what happens is I fear that the color it can take away from it, or you can have such a nice, like you said, good foundation, and then if your color is just it can kind of distract. So it's been
like a chocolate teapot. Yeah.
And then another thing I just wanted to point out too is my doodles. I love to doodle. And so one thing that this one on the upper left with the eyes and those, I did that in 5 minutes. And my goal was just to draw all the things that just come to my brain. And I realized as I was doing it that these are the things that I would doodle when I was a kid, just randomly if I had to draw over a notebook or whatever. So I love me a good doodle.
I used to get, just on that without going too off piece, I used to get in trouble at school for drawing on school books all the time.
Oh,
Like,
you drew
yeah,
like on the school, like the actual school
no,
books?
actually, just to clarify, I wasn't vandalizing. No, like my own school books, like a maths or like a disclaimer, just saying.
Okay, got it.
Like my own personal, like Kieron Lewis book, and then I would draw on top of my, not that like school library, just like what kind of animal is this person? Yeah, so get me in
That's
trouble.
too bad though. I mean, it's your book, so you should kind of be able
rules.
to.
We had rules in school. You couldn't. Maybe it might have changed generationally. I don't know, but
I would
the
hope
Euro
so.
Doodler. Euro Doodler. That's cool to see.
Oh yeah, I was, and now I'm becoming one again. So, and that's the reason why kids should be able to like doodle on their own things, right? Like,
Yes, definitely.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it's been absolutely amazing, Markita, to kind of host you. And I feel like, again, with the chats, we've seen so many good comments coming thick and fast. So a massive thank you, of course, to yourself for designing for us. It's been my pleasure, of course, to host. And again, for the Adobe Live chat, if it wasn't for you guys, there would be no, Adobe Live. Thank you very much for joining. And please obviously join for part 2. So just on that note, I'd just like to say, just as a final thing, we'll be back tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Pacific for part 2 of Markita's Adobe live stream for character design. So stick around for Lightroom Bootcamp with Aaron Nace, immediately followed by this stream. Follow Creative Challenge you can join Liz Mosley for a graphic design stream to learn more about designing your brand from scratch. So on that note, a massive thank you to you all, and we'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Bye.